Hello and welcome to my shitty Honda Fit. I am Danny Duchamp, and I seem to have become part of this anti-SJW community that's sprung up here on YouTube. You know what an SJW is. The Black Lives Matterers, the radical feminists, a social justice warrior. Look, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume you know what a social justice warrior is. Now, it's a pretty decent-sized community. There's lots of people constantly talking about different ways that we can fight against this problem in society, and there's a lot of people talking about the different ways in which they seem to fuck up society. And I want to talk about specifically one that bugs me more than pretty much any other one. It's the way that they ruin language. See, language is really important. It's the only method we have for communicating with one another, and in a lot of ways it helps us to think on our own. So if these words are destroyed, then our thought process and our communication of that thought process are also destroyed. So without further ado, here is 5 more words that social justice warriors have completely ruined. Number 1, privilege. Does anyone else remember when privilege used to be a good thing? Well, it did. I mean, it's like driving. You have to get a driver's license, and then you earn that privilege. Privilege was something that you earned, something that can be taken away from you, but something that you've put in the work for, and now you have the ability to do. Now, privilege means something that you didn't earn. It's completely about-faced. Okay, so it's like I was born with a family that gave me a roof over my head. That is a privilege, and now I have to constantly apologize to all of the people who didn't get born into a family that gave them a roof over their head. There is some adhesive substance that sticks to you and makes you constantly have to apologize for everything that happened to you that wasn't terrible. And not only that, but social justice warriors are making it about things that aren't even really privileges in that sense, like white skin or, well, Lacey, you tell us what a privilege is.
Privileges are places where we hold more power in society than others. For example, I'm white, I'm cisgender, I'm able-bodied, I have a roof over my head and food on the table.
Yes, you see, Lacey Green's the perfect example, but social justice warriors in general tend to talk about it like that. Like it's something, having white skin and being cisgendered, aka believing you are the gender that you actually are, they're put on the same level as having food and shelter. No, different people have different experiences, and you can't just take some biological category that they happen to fit in and then tell them how easy their life was because of it. And you certainly can't make them apologize for that biological category. Anyway, while we're on the topic of Lacey Green, there's another word that she is prone to fuck up, and that is...
Number 3, problematic.
Last week I checked out the VMAs, and well, it was definitely a new experience for me. I saw a lot of celebrities, aka very problematic people. Miley Cyrus was wearing dreadlocks. Taylor Swift preaches a feminism that's far from intersectional. The Weeknd calls women bitches and hoes.
See that? This thing doesn't fit into our ideology, so you'd probably better fix that, okay? Number 3, marginalized. Special thanks to the adoptive daughter of myself and Edgy Sphinx on this one. So, marginalized. Now, this one sort of was part of social justice warrior rhetoric to begin with. It wasn't very common outside of it anyway, but at least it had something of a meaning originally. It was a group that was a small part of society that was pushed towards an even smaller section of society. But now it is used to describe groups that are not particularly small parts of society. Take it away, Steve!
Women are not the only demographic to be marginalized and mistreated in our community, and particularly here on YouTube.
Yeah, women and other marginalized communities. Women are a marginalized community. Does anyone think that the majority of Earth is marginal? No? Okay, well maybe they've just been marginalized. They've been made to sort of be less of society than men have. Well, that's pretty fucking sexist if you think women can be controlled that easily, but okay. Number 4, hate speech. This one has some definition to it, but... Number 4, hate speech. So there's a concept of hate speech that is often used in the phrase, that's not free speech, it's hate speech. It's basically hammering out a separate category of speech and saying that it doesn't count as free speech, so they can get around that whole thing that everyone seems to think free speech is a good idea. Now, hate speech is originally intended to be used for things like inciting violent hatred towards some group, like let's all go kill the black people. Something like that would be considered hate speech. And while I'm a free speech fundamentalist, I think you should be able to say anything. I can totally understand why you would not want people to be able to say that. However, that is not what it means anymore. Just look at this news article and see what has been considered hate speech, what the word hate speech has been reduced to represent.
There were chalk messages, I believe, on the sidewalk of the quad at Emory University. The messages said Trump in 2016 or vote Trump.
Right.
Some students said that is threatening, that is hate speech.
See that? Chalk writing advocating a particular political candidate. Nothing hateful about anyone. The only message it has is positive towards a person. And that is considered hate speech. They've gone past the point where they can pretend that they are trying to use hate speech to protect people. They are clearly using it as some kind of Orwellian newspeak in order to shut down things they don't want to be said. Number 5, progressive. This one I bet is surprising a lot of people. So progressive is basically the word that a lot of people use for social justice warrior. But I don't think it always meant that. I mean, in the early 1900s, it meant a specific political movement, mostly in the UK and also a little bit in America. In America, I think it was Roosevelt was a big part of the progressive movement. But growing up, I sort of saw progressive as the counterpoint to conservative. The conservatives wanted to preserve the parts of our society which were great and worth holding on to. The progressives wanted to find new things that we could add to our society to make it greater. But now progressive has been ruined just because the people who are now really social justice warriors just happen to be on the progressive side on a few issues. They have sort of taken over that movement, and now the word progressive just refers to cultural Marxist social justice warriors trying to destroy free expression and arrange the world by its various privileges.
Privilege problematic.
Marginalized.
Hate speech.
Progressive.